Hello, everyone. Today, I bring to you a dialogue with Poonam Bir Kasturi from Bangalore. Poonam founded Daily Dump, an organization dedicated to recycling waste at home level. She was driven by the ideology of using open source model to engage traditional crafts of building terracotta products to build new mindsets and attitudes towards waste. For the past 18 years, she has been working hard to cultivate in communities a new mindset towards recycling waste in homes instead of just chucking it out on the streets. Let's listen to Poonam, hear her story, and hear her message to the future generations. Over to Poonam. So, hi Poonam.
Hi,
It's so nice to see you after a long time.
I know.
I don't know if you remember, uh, you were amongst the team that helped me with my diploma project
I'll
documentation.
never forget. I stayed back one summer break to do that.
Do you remember what the topic was?
No, I don't remember. I
It
remember
was
I did work.
it was solid waste management.
Seriously.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay.
A-
Strange. How come I don't remember that? Huh?
And my big thesis that time was we need to do home-based composting. And
Really?
yes, and solid waste management has to be turned into a beautiful experience.
Wow. Wow. See that. Somewhere that remained in my head.
So let me just give you a quick background of why I'm doing this, and I'll start with my questions.
Hmm.
So this year is my father's birth centenary year. And one of the things I thought is like, instead of doing the conventional thing of just talking about an individual who has passed,
Mhm.
I think I should rather celebrate the ideas that marked his lifetime,
Hmm.
especially since he worked from independent struggle all the way till recent years.
Yeah.
And that era has been an era of dreaming and change making and all kinds of inspired imagination. And in different sectors, it's not just in politics or every field of human life, there has been energy and inspiration. And I thought I should just document that, like through people who have witnessed post-independence India. Uh, they got inspired in their youth and they continued their lifetime pursuing their idealism. And among such people is you. You-
Wow. I'm honored
Yes.
because I have such deep respect for your mom and dad. They were stellar leaders. Stellar.
Well, they were who they were because they were a part of a group that worked at a ground level, not
Yeah.
because what they did from the top level. They also
Yeah.
rose from the ranks.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never left contact with the ground level. And I think that's where I think what is important today is when everybody aspires to be in control and on the top and prosperity and everything, you need to understand that what we have today is because of the sweat and
Yeah.
labor of people who are working on the ground level who are not visible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, you have a lot of presence on YouTube, but and you're known, but I think your story is inspiring, and I'm creating this archive for the next 100 years for generations, especially the younger generation, like the age of your kid and my kid,
Mm.
in 100 years from now, 50 years from now,
Yeah.
when we won't be there, we don't know what kind of
World
philosophies
really.
and ideologies would be there that time.
Yeah.
But we know that we grew up in a zeitgeist where uh, our forebearers, our training at NID, and whatever we did in our life was definitely driven for just foundational social concerns.
Mm. Yeah.
So from that perspective, my first question is, tell me, where did your inspiration for what you dedicated your life for come from?
When people have always asked me how did daily dump happen, and I think the real true answer is it. I mean, I didn't create it; it happened to me almost,
Mhm.
and it happened because of my journey, I think, and some of the decisions, or maybe what would you call it? Some of the propensities of my character. After I left NID, NID was really wonderful in terms of, the faculty that we have, Bhandari, Ranjan, and Balram, and so many of the others, right, who inspired us. And we had, seniors like you and um, lots of visiting faculty, people who came from outside who were interested in engaging with the world at that time. And my mom and dad also were very deep influences on my thought processes and my need to do something that went beyond only what was mainstream defined, right? And I can see that in my sister and my brother. So a lot of the dinner table conversations were all coming from this idea that you need to be curious, you need to engage with the world, you need to have your and don't get swayed by what is happening all around you, so. And my interest in sustainable design, because I was a product designer and we had a lot of conversations around this in NID, and discussions outside, and kind of prepared me, or I gravitated to doing more research on sustainability, trying to figure my ideas and figure out what does it really mean. I mean, how does it mean when culture intersects with design, we intersects with practice? How do you make something that's enduring, that's not fashion, just it's not distanced from science, it's not distanced from say what people really need. And then how is behavior sitting in all of this, and how can you nudge it? So these were ideas, right? And you're trying to make sense. I mean, I think everybody tries to make sense of this internal web that they have. And I think teaching gave me a great opportunity to learn. While I was teaching for 12 years, I got lots of opportunity to meet amazing people all over the world. I traveled, I met people who are doing all kinds of work in design, in sociology, in NGO spaces. And I had to learn, no, to teach properly. So that it all kind of fructified at one point in my head. And it just happened. And I said, no, I need to move away from teaching and I need to show that this is possible. And that's when I kind of, the daily dub happened.
Interesting. So I'm going to ask one more question about your past, and then we'll move into the Delhi dump conversation. Uh, I remember your dad was an engineer. He designed machine tools, right?
Yes, yes.
So he was very much with high tech. The
No, he
state
was
of
an artist. He was a carpenter. He made first, my bunk bed in when I was a child.
Mhm.
My dad, we even had a film of him sitting and making a sofa set for our home.
Okay,
So he
so
was an
I'm
artist. He was a poet. He would write Urdu poetry. He would paint. He was actually really, amazing person. He was an inspiration to us.
so I think I'm already beginning to get an answer to the question I'm still going to ask. So I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, since his profession was designing machine tools, and you have, like, you grew up in that environment, Kiran grew up in that environment, but you both chose uh, a field of shaping the society or minds or handcrafted things at a very home level.
Yeah.
How did that, like, kind of that mental shift happen? How did you get curious about handcrafts and minds and behaviors?
So, my dad also ran a handicraft company.
Mhm.
We all sat and fret sawed past pieces.
Mhm.
So he would talk about these big ideas about how he didn't see a difference between craft and machines. And I think if you'd let him be, right, and not given him the burden of looking after 3 children and a wife and bringing up and clothing us and all of that and looking after his extended family, he would have also done a great amount of work in the society space. It was just he was in the wrong time and wrong place, I think. Poor fellow. He had to carry the burden of looking after us. So somehow that kind of permeated into us. And we took his, his mandate forward in some way, I think, because we lost him very early. Sometimes Kiran and me have a conversation and say, do you think Papa would have actually liked what we are doing? And
Well, absolutely, yes.
I'm sure he would have come and said, no, you do this better. No, you do this one better.
Okay. Let's talk about Daily Dump. It's been it's been your baby for how many? 25 years now?
No, 18 years. 18 years.
18 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me the journey of Daily Dump, like how it began and where is it now?
When I began, it was a project in my head. I still felt that I had to go and earn money on doing other design consultancy projects. And this was like my side thing. And I was like putting all the ideas into that, like a experiment that I wanted to showcase. You can do this, you can think like this, and this is how the effect and the outcome would be. So it was very much like a project. And because it was at a space where I had left teaching, I had more time and I was all on my own. There was no money. I didn't go and raise money and anything like that. So I decided I would do all the work myself. I really enjoyed it. I would enjoy going and making prototypes, putting them on people's houses, going and seeing how they're working, going and making, visual posters, going and doing testing and servicing. All that work was very exciting. It was, I was literally enjoying myself because it was new and nobody wanted to do it. Everybody said, this is a ridiculous idea. When I first made made compost at home, I had maggots all over the place. I had them in the printer, and it rained very badly at that time. And they were all over my carpet in my house. And my whole family saying, what the hell are you doing? I mean, we've never seen those kind of maggots. And they look yucky and they look creepy, actually, when you look at them. And then I went to the agricultural institute and asked some of the scientists to come and see what I was doing. And they all said, this is not going to work. No Indian is going to actually do composting at home. It's dirty, it's smelly, and nobody's going to take the effort. You can throw it out and that's the best way to handle it. And I think that was exciting because you knew you were on a fool's mission almost. And not knowing that you would succeed was actually part of the excitement. Saying we don't know, it might fail. It's okay. I'm going to try it. And you didn't have any investor breathing down your neck and say, I want so much return. And you didn't have any of that pressure. So it grew, and it grew very organically. We sold our first set of 30 pots, and then that became 100, and that became 300. And I remember one Rotarian from Kerala came and said, I want to buy a truckload. And I said, wow, that is super. And so we ordered a truckload. The potter got excited because it was a very big order for him. We sent the truckload. And even today, Keralites are the biggest users of composting in the country. So they have a natural affinity for nature and doing this natural process. So you learned a lot in the process. You had partners. I remember somebody from Goa, a young girl, wrote to me and said, I want to be a partner, because I had put it out as open source, saying you can copy it, you can replicate it in your region. Anyway, we have potters all over the country. So that was the ethos, that trying to implement all those ideas that I had learned or wanted to experiment with. Is open source viable? Is making batch production by craft communities viable? Will customers or Indian citizens actually get nudged because you started making something look beautiful as opposed to that perception of dirty? So these were all the design intentionalities that you were trying to test in the market. So that was what was really interesting. And then till the first 6 years, there was no competition at all. Nobody wanted to get into this space because they knew there was no money, actually. We were not making money in that sense. And then after the 6th year, we started seeing slowly, one by one, people trying to copy us almost, copy our business model, saying, okay, we also want to make composters. And I think that is one thing that Daily Dump did. It established that home composting is here to stay. Second, it opened the pathway. I mean, we did all the hard work to open a road, and then everybody else started walking on that space. And as we went along, we said, all right, I kept away from saying, I don't want to add plastic. I don't want to add plastic. It was a big decision to, okay, can we go ahead and make a plastic bin? Finally, we had to do it because of shipping, because of reaching more people. And so that's the conundrum of a capitalist kind of setup, right? You want to be local, you want local potters, but the potters had stopped working. They stopped making pots. So then how do you get more people to compost? The only way to do is to make a shippable, non-breakable item. And that's when plastic arrives in your head, even if you don't want to use it. And those are the trade-offs, so to speak, that you have to make as you start growing. And we kept developing material. We kept developing our website became a joke. Every year we were modifying our website because we wanted to make it even more clearer and even more clearer. And so internally in my family, there was a joke. Mom is working on the website. Oh, she's still working on the website. Oh, she's still working on the website. Oh, she's still working on the website. It became like that. And then we got, one of my teammates actually did a business plan. We got an award for it. And so we got an investment of 25 lakhs. With that money, we actually designed and built a large community composter. And that again took off, and we've got like about 3,000-4,000 of them all over the country, and some of them abroad also. Our model got replicated all over the world.
And what was the material of that community compost?
That was also plastic. It was rotomolded.
Okay.
And that was also, it was a very iconic design. I mean, like the khamba has, it's become an icon by itself, right? People call it the khamba. The Aga also has become very iconic. It looks like an Alibaba's pot. Mm-hmm. And so people identify a lot with that product. And so of course, we got a lot of love from the press. We never went out once also and asked for any press coverage. Lots of affection from everybody, lots of affection from our customers. So it's been a really gratifying thing. We choose, I think one of the things we've said is we will not compete with others. We will do exactly what we want to do. We'll do it well. And we will not really go and cut somebody else's quotation, cut prices. We won't engage in those kind of practices. And those kind of, values we've had in the company that we've run so far. And I think it's helped us because we're known as a brand that is simple. It's genuine, it's authentic, and we are really committed to the customer getting really great compost. And the other side, of course, is compost itself is magical. It allows us to replenish our own understanding of life and its circularity. and it's a great leveler, because when you work with waste and compost and you see it happening again and again and again, it really grounds you.
Got it. So a few questions come to my mind. I need to prioritize them in my head, but I'll start with your choice of, that was terracotta, right? Your initial material was
Yes.
terracotta.
Yeah.
And I can clearly see your entire logic of, you want to use local skills in your model of open source production philosophy. And of course, your compulsions of managing a supply chain
Yeah.
got you to turn to plastics.
Mm.
But even before you moved to plastics, as a designer, what was your concept? What was the reason for you to choose terracotta besides harnessing the local skills? Because if you look into any urban home today, it has stainless steel and plastics and everything. So the home aesthetic, even the matka for pani has gone away. So
Yeah.
what
So this
did
was
that fit in the local aesthetic?
no, but I think there are memories.
Hmm.
The memory of the matka is still there.
Hmm.
It may have physically gone away in some homes or many homes, but the memory is there. And I think I was focusing on the memory bit and its archetypal kind of connection to our historical understanding of our own selves as identities as Indians.
Hmm.
So we have that feeling for earth. It's not that, and there's we can see now a resurgence of clay cooking ware.
Hmm.
I mean, there's such a resurgence on traditional cooking ware now, whether it's brass or terracotta.
Even
So
in homes with contemporary aesthetic.
yes, very much so. In fact, it's becoming a cool thing to cook out of terracotta. So,
So
and
to
that resurgence is happened, I think, because partly nostalgic, and partly I think it's also we know that it tastes better in that. And for me, for the composting bit, terracotta was ideal to draw the leachate out of composting.
Mhm.
It could absorb the water that gets discharged during the composting process. So actually, it was an ideal material. And it's
So
also fit local economies, also fitted batch production. So I could do prototyping on the run,
I get it. So where did people typically, like if you took like your entire market as like 100 people, what would be a distribution of where that composting artifact was placed in the home?
So mainly in the balcony or in the garden.
Okay.
Yeah. But in view,
Hmm.
not hidden.
So in
So
view
that
of
was
guests
fundamentally
also.
in view of guests.
That's interesting. And
Yeah.
did you add decoration to the pot also?
So the thing was, people would add decorations and send us photos.
Uh-huh.
So our customers would paint it and then send us photos saying, see, this is what I. So the Kamba became a part of their family.
Okay. Now, since it became a part of a contemporary industrial supply chain by switch of materials, does it still retain its open source philosophy, your new
So,
business model?
but the thing about it is the barriers to make or copy that is so
Hmm.
low that it is copied. And just the other day, a large nursery supplier copied the details also, our breather details and our inside leachate details. So we wrote to him and said, this is a copy. He said, no, it's not a copy. So we said, it's okay, it doesn't matter. So it's like, it doesn't, it's like lots of these composting, our composting, what do we say, competitors, we know all of them. It's a very small community. We know each other. We know what they're making. They know what we are making. So it's actually a very small evangelic kind of community, because none of us are making any money. None of us.
Do you guys ever get together to discuss ideas?
No, not yet.
Is there a barrier to it?
I think nobody's ever tried it so far. I mean, we meet each other in conferences and exchange tea and gupshup and all that. But we've never sat down and said, okay, let's make one composter that belongs to all of us.
Or not even compose. What about stories? Do you exchange stories?
Oh, yeah.
But
In
with
fact,
your
we ask each other, with our computers. Like there's one set of machines that are not, they use power and all that. So I was having a conversation with them. People buy the composting systems, right? Communities, and they set it up, and there's a cost to it. And then they don't run it. And so we were discussing the terrible rate of stopped systems. And for all the, like, say, if you give out 100 systems, you've sold 100 systems, you have only 30% working. And so we were discussing this metric, and we were saying it's so sad that in spite of all the investment that communities are doing, they don't have the discipline to keep it going. And waste seems to be the last priority on anybody's radar, because it just needs a little bit of discipline, little bit of care, little bit of resources. And resources are always cited as the reason, or the lack of resources are cited as the reason for stopping. And on one other side, we've done a kind of, another group has done a cost analysis of how much it will cost to keep all the waste off the streets and being managed properly. That means baling it, sorting it, sending it to recycler, composting it. And it works out to 230 rupees per home, not even individual. That means 4 people, 230 rupees.
So another question comes to my mind is, in the course of your comment, you said something like, none of us is making money, like you and your competitor.
Yeah.
So
We're not making serious money.
So why is everyone doing it?
I started it because I thought it was like a thing that we need to do in India, right? I mean, why are we not composting? That was my that was the reason. I said we're stupid if we're not doing this, because it's such an easy thing to do, and why should we should do it. But I think the others actually are doing it because some of them think that they will be making money soon, another 5 years at least. The market should open up in it.
So that means 18 plus 5, 20.
Correct. For me, 18 plus 5. All the others are much younger.
Okay. So, but then let me ask you this, like from a business model perspective. Yes, you created something that can have a huge impact on the ecology, and when it is scaled to a place where significant number of people in the city or town begin to use those systems. But in order for something like that to become a part of the ecosystem, it has to be a sustainable business model also.
So we are breaking even, we're making some profits, but it's not in the league. See, I'll give you some comparable metrics. 65 lakh washing machines were sold last year in India. Put all the brands of composters in the country, and we would not have sold more than about 10,000. And they are saying, the washing machine market is saying, they have only 10% penetration. So you can think of the scale of what is possible. And apparently, from what the ministry and all, we were reading some reports, India's urban centers are going to grow exponentially in the next 7 years. So you're going to talk about doubling your waste. And that waste is going to be produced in all these large flats. So, and how do you manage it?
So has anybody who works at scale, such as say appliance companies, or the government, city government, state government, central government, whoever, has anybody had a conversation with you about scaling it to a point where it can actually have an impact on the society?
So there have been many trials, like Indore. In fact, they copied our Terra Cotta product and gave it free at subsidized rates to homes. Then they gave plastic buckets to everybody. Kerala has done a lot of that. The point is, Indians still don't want to do it. They may get a bucket, And Whirlpool actually did one product, automatic a composter, but the product is not available anymore. So it's just that the numbers, for some reason, are not being, there's no adoption at the scale we need. And that has something to do with the fact that we still feel that this is not my job.
I get it. So I want to go back to my diploma project, okay? And because our diploma projects were 6 months, I spent a whole year on that because we were never required to like graduate in time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I had learned that time is that no one artifact of the solid waste management system from home to the landfill can be seen in isolation. They all have to be treated equally. And also because a lot of social taboos and inhibitions and perceptions are tied to the entire chain of products and services there.
Yeah.
And you have to upgrade every artifact and every service and every brand in that entire ecosystem so that people can actually begin to see the connection between the ecological value of the solid waste management system and the beauty that resides in a personal connection with cleanliness.
Yeah.
Just like Gandhi had an approach, right? Gandhi had simplicity and aesthetic in everything that he did.
Yeah.
And that kind of approach, actually, because Safai Vidyalaya was another place that I was on my graduate committee. There was Ishwarbhai Patel who was running that. He was one of my advisors. So my question to you is, did you extrapolate your idea to the entire ecosystem of products and services?
Yeah. In fact, we're working on something currently where we're trying to tell builders that unless they have buildings that have these details designed in them in the structure, you cannot make waste look beautiful or make it look clean or make it efficient. Like what we've done for healthcare, right, in our hospitals, we have some standard, okay, the bed needs to move from this to the operation theater. So how will it move out of a door? The door sizes need to be this. The bed needs to move up and down automatically. It needs to have, it needs to look like this. So there's a lot of work done in healthcare, and which India has adopted very nicely. You go to a modern hospital in India, it's quite, it can compete with hospitals abroad. It's not happened to waste at all. It's happened to your swimming pools, it happened to your lifts, it happened to your lobbies. In fact, a friend of mine was saying they spent some 25 or 30 lakhs on a lobby redesign, an existing community. But if we went there and say, spend 25 lakhs on making your building actually efficient for all the waste to come out and go to the right places, get secondary sorted in a safe, airy environment with people who have got proper tools and proper trolleys, proper spaces, proper working conditions. No, nobody wants to do that. So now we're working with builders saying, okay, your MRF, your material recovery center in each set of flats needs to be this quality.
So another question comes to my mind, and this is something that is a part of my current design consciousness as it has evolved over a period of the entire time since I graduated. I believe that the true seeds of design reside in social imagination. Yeah. And because no one manufacturer or designer can impact an entire society. So you need to have the right narrative, the right imagination cultivated, and that will permeate adoption of any transformatory design idea at a mass scale. And a part of that, I've been telling my clients in technology sector, not in your sector, that instead of promoting products and an individual's experience or individual homes or families' experience tied to that product, you need to adopt a community,
Mm.
not for a year, but for 10 years, 15 years, and demonstrate the idea of nurturing, cultivating, building social imagination, and transforming the community life through it. And unless the evidence works at the community level, you cannot have a wider imagination of replicating the benefits that accrue at community level or at an ecological level at multiple places.
So I think, yes.
How might you use this thinking in your domain?
So I think that there have been cases of people working with communities in the waste sector. Like in Yelahanka, we have a lady who has enough political clout and backing so that the local MLA and Panchayat don't get into her case. She's got enough financial resources and land resources. And she's doing work with about one Panchayat, which is about 4,200 homes. And so she's trying to do exactly what you're saying with the community and sticking there. She's been there for 7 years and she's trying to work on it. And she herself will tell you that it's very hard to replicate what she's doing because of the fact that in Bangalore, you don't have those other parameters that are needed for you to stay for 7 years. In India, if you want to stay in something like this for 7 to 8 years or 10 years, it's a community-based thing. You have to have deep pockets and you have to have political clout, especially in the West.
So to that point, let me ask you another question. I saw in one of the photos that you sent me, the Prime Minister of India came to you, right?
He didn't come to me. I went to him.
Oh, you went to him. Okay, anyway. But I saw him appreciating your effort.
I mean, the Prime Minister appreciates many, many efforts.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he has Swachh Bharat as is one of his initiatives.
Yeah. I mean, I see.
So
I think
wouldn't
there
you
is
be
no
able to
lack
leverage that connection?
No. I think your dad would have a different point of take on this if he was here now in this current climate. I feel that it's complex, this waste thing. It's what works in Indore, we should say, why is it not replicated in Bangalore? Bangalore has so much wealth. Yeah. Everybody's tried. Everybody's tried many things. I mean, it's not like we've not tried. You forget Poonam. Poonam is out of the picture. There are other very well-intentioned, persevering people who have tried. And whenever you sit and talk, all of us sit and talk, it's like what are we fighting against? I mean, this lady has put so many PILs and got so many court orders. None of the court orders are being implemented. And I think it finally comes down to the fact that as a nation, I think we seem to need another 15 years to mature in our ability to work in civic spaces and, common good kind of areas. Because we're too busy, getting our children fed and clothed and finding a house.
But since I know you so well, Poonam, you're not the kind who complain about things that don't work.
Yeah, so that's why I don't complain about the political system. I don't complain about, I don't have this, I don't have that. My feeling is that I have to focus on what I can do and change now. And in fact, I'm in the transition space. I'm saying, okay, I've done what I had to do for composting. Now, other people have started doing it. Very good, more power to them. Let them do it. Maybe they'll make better inroads to it. Because, it's like these management guys say, this is the age for second mover advantage. It's not the first mover has an advantage anymore. We're living in an age where the second mover has a better advantage. So I want to focus on doing more collaborative work across the waste sector. And I want to be able to say, okay, a little bit of what you're saying about, seeing how through collaboration, we can get more and more such models as demonstrations and build this consciousness that's across people. It's not residing in one or two people. It needs to be shared.
So I have one practical question. You live in a community. Yeah. Unlike America, where sometimes then you won't even know the second, your neighbor. In Indian communities, whether they're urban, rural, mofussil towns, they know about each other. They are in each other's life. Have you actually been able to influence your immediate community to embrace your project?
So of course, we have a lane, right? So I live in a place where it's not a gated community and it's not too much high rise. So we got all the people in my street to come together for a breakfast meeting. We paid for the breakfast. We paid for the Paura Karamikas and the BBMP, the local municipality officials to come. And we paid for the products of leaf composting to be installed on the street. And we got everybody's okay and all of that. We said, we'll look after it. And once we installed it, in the third month, our neighbors and another neighbor said, remove them. So, I mean, when you have,
Why?
you don't want to fight with your neighbors also, no?
But why? Why?
No, there's no explanation in the sense that there's no rational discussion. नहीं बहुत mosquito है, नहीं मेरे से नहीं होता, ये निकाल दो, ये बहुत गंदा है, इसका नहीं होता. But we had spoken to you, this was going to be done. You had agreed at that time. No, we don't want it anymore. This is not correct. You please remove it.
So, so this is interesting. Any design, fitting design in somebody's life or a community's life is a social experiment. It's not a design project. It's a social project, correct?
Absolutely.
So, what have you learned from these reactions?
I think that the also see, you should structure yourself as saying, okay, I will only do that kind of work. Like I know in Bangalore, we have evangelists who don't have a company to run. They don't have salaries to pay. They don't have rents to figure out. So they go and use CSR funds and, have enough time to talk to officials. And they do this kind of projects. I don't have CSR funds. I cannot access CSR funds. I'm a for-profit, so I have to pay salaries. So you have to toss up and say, okay, what can I do in the position that I am in? So if I said, okay, that should become my job, right? And there are people who do that. Again, they will face the same things that we faced, but they will still keep doing it. They will remove one street, they will go to another street, the third street, they will do fourth street. They will always be fed with some amount of resistance, and sometimes they have success. So, but that is not being fed by, or the resource don't come from a person having to run a company. They're coming from some CSR external fund. So my problem with those kind of things is once the CSR fund dries up, what is going to happen?
Correct. So I think what I'm hearing right now in response to my question is the funding problems and the structural problems. But my curiosity is for the social and design problem. What I'm saying is there is obviously a design problem and there's a social psychological problem, because when I look at my own home or my other family members' homes, we do have a trash compactor under the sink, right? It's dirty, but still we still keep it there. And we have a way of managing smells and dirt and visual appeal and all of that stuff. We do have, like, for example, my wife is diabetic, so she takes injections. So we have a way of disposing the needle or the syringes and so on.
Yeah.
And then when I go out into the hospitals, I see, or the doctor's office, there's a lot of medical waste that is dirty, but they have a very sanitary and beautiful way of packaging that waste and moving on. And none of us have a problem with that. We have, or even if we do, we have adapted to elegant ways of managing at least some of the waste that is ugly and maybe nauseating or whatever smelly in our life. So what can we learn from those habits and behaviors and apply
Legislation.
to
Legislation is one very big thing. In India, legislation really works. Fines work. The minute you have legislation that says you cannot, as a community of more than 100 flats, throw anything out of your gates, we will fine you if you don't do this. Everybody will come in line. They'll line up outside all the people who are making stuff for them and start buying and start asking for expertise to run it. There is no danda.
Okay, I get it. So I have a very personal question for you. Has your mental perception and your emotional reactions to dirt changed, or to garbage or trash changed?
Well, the fact that I lived on a landfill, I never had any problem with garbage.
Yeah, but I'm sure you had to hold your breath to do that.
No, I had to hold my breath when I saw the maggot. The black soldier fly maggot is quite a unique creature when it becomes like this steaming mass. It's like there are so many, it's like a wave in the ocean on the surface of your composter. That I remember clearly. I was like, okay, I mean, how am I going to deal with this? And how am I going to convince a customer that this is what they're going to get in their house? And so I went the route of complete radical transparency. When we started selling, we had a bowl of maggots next to the billing section, and we'd say, this is what you're going to get. If you don't like this, don't buy the product.
I get it. So now I want to move into the future phase of our conversation. I see you as a positive, energetic, inspired, idealist person.
Foolish.
Okay, let's add to that. If all idealists in my life have been foolish, do you still retain all of those qualities, or is life bearing down on you?
I think that the only thing that bears down on me is the operational side of running a business. I'm not an Excel sheet person. Money has never made any sense to me. I can't understand money. Even today, I think if somebody asks me what is money, I won't be able to literally tell them. For me, you should be able to explain the ideas that you understand. And you should be able to explain it like you would explain it to a child, very clearly, very simply, and very short. Money, I don't understand. I do understand that I need to know things in a fresh way. Like, nobody told me. I was 40. I was 40 when somebody told me that you're drinking dinosaur pee. And I was blown away by that concept. I said, what? Why didn't somebody tell me when I was growing up? Why didn't somebody tell me that plants actually get their mass, their carbohydrate mass does not come from soil. It comes from the air. Nobody told me that clearly in that way. So I can give you a long list of such things that actually were all part of my learning post 40 that actually suddenly made me realize I need to do this composting, because we've got it all wrong. We think that we cannot be connected with nature, but this is a deep, immediate step. You can bring it into your house and you can get yourselves excited about things like this. So when I do composting talks, I start from here. I don't start from waste. I'm not talking about waste at all. I'm talking about how do you view the world? What does it mean? Like you're asking me, are you curious enough still? And so I think that to answer the question, if I'm not curious enough, I would die. Because that seems to be the only thing that has held me going till now, because everything else I failed on. I mean, if you look at it, as a business, I've not made great, it's not a case study that you'll go to Harvard with, but for me, these things matter. This thing of being curious about the world, understanding you don't know anything actually. There's very little you know. You think you know, but there's this joy of getting up and saying, okay, I want to discover today something. I want to understand something.
So you said you don't start your story with compost. What is your story when you go out and tell the story to draw people into your imagination?
Oh, when I go to housewives, right? I talk to them about this thing about, see, you have a house, you love your house, you have a fridge, and you have a washing machine, you have a TV, you're very proud of it. Say, yeah, we're very proud of it. I say, okay, what does a fridge do? A fridge, what does it do? It takes your tomato, it takes your kheera, and you put it inside, what is it doing? It delays its death. Na? So death delaying mechanism is your fridge. So you have a death delaying mechanism in your kitchen. I am telling you, take a composter. It takes what is dead and makes it live. Now you want both in your house, no, to make it full house. You want one that has got positive energy. It takes your dead things and makes it beautiful life, black gold. And you've got something that delays death. I'm not asking you to stop using that delaying death mechanism, but you use your life-giving mechanism also. Why you stopped? Complete your house. Give your daughter this as your dowry. Or give your son as your dowry. So it depends on which audience I'm talking about.
So how do they react? What part of this story resonates with them?
Some of them giggle. Some of them say, "What are you talking, madam? Ye kya bol rahe ho aap?" Some say, actually, nahi, achhi baat hai.
So do you have a story of anyone who has had like a spark in their head as a part of their conversation with you and have had fundamental change in their attitude?
I think they definitely, something shifts in their head, right? And they, in fact, I just did a session for a international charity online, and they were young people, all of them. So they got very excited with this dinosaur pee thing. They got excited with the fact that, I had to tell them tales about how there was a young child and what happened to him, and how there was a maid and what happened to her. So we have lots and lots of stories around people and customers who come to us and say our life has changed, the way we look at our stuff has changed. But we also have, it's very hard to convert a customer, but it takes about 45 minutes, because composting is the last non-impulsive buy that you will ever have. It's not an impulsive purchase. It's a purchase that has commitment. So you always delay that.
Okay, this is interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit about the dinosaur pee? What does it mean?
What is water?
Hmm.
When you look at the river and you look at the water in your tap, this water has been continuously being recycled by this wonderful earth. All through. So when the dinosaur peed went to the lake, that lake went into ice went into, it's come back to you. And like you, all your atoms are all stardust. You're made of stardust. Now, you can hear this, but if you think about it a little bit and you have an opportunity to discuss it with your friend, and then you delve with it deeper and let it sink into you, it changes you.
Interesting. Very interesting. In fact, I have heard that somebody did this experiment. I don't remember where those filters that you can drink.
Yeah.
Somebody actually used the toilet water through it and drank it, and said like this is how great it is. So those kind of shocking mechanisms can have an impact also.
Yeah, you'll be a little, but the thing is, it's not, these are facts. It's just that you turn it around in the head. Like when we talk to younger kids about nature and how important it is, and how all across the labs in the world today, there is this intersection between technology and nature. And we talk about how a palak leaf, the plumbing of a palak spinach leaf is being studied so that we can fix the plumbing or understand the plumbing in the heart. Now, kids don't understand that you're using the word plumbing across both. They think plumbing is for your house pipes. Yeah. And so when you start cross-secting this and you start getting them to think about this, you can see that they're engaged more.
I get it. So I have two more questions before we end. One is the audience of this dialogue, as I told you, is from a time when you and I won't be there. Do you think when they are watching this daily dump, idea would still be around?
I hope it's not.
Why?
Because I hope that there are other better ideas that will solve this problem. I think I just started off one little thing. Maybe there are other people out there who will do much, much better service to this.
do people have to start all over, or can they learn something from you?
Yeah, they can take whatever is there on our site. We put everything up on our site. It's all there to use, and lots of people have already used it, which is really good. I don't think there is a. I think that people should just move forward and find better ways. I found what worked for our time, but
So my last question is, look into my eyes, but you're not talking to me, but you're talking to a 12 to 15-year-old kid from 50 years from now, and gather all your wisdom, your experience, your learnings, and say something to them.
I think that the beauty of what I have learned is that in the most mundane places, there's magic. There's magic. And for me, soil gave me that magic, because I never knew that inside the soil, there are all these little organisms that burp and fight and fart and poke. And they have this phenomenal dance. And through the dance, they change the chemistry. So it's like you need biology to make chemistry happen in the physical space of soil. And so for me, it was like, oh, somewhere it resonates to me that this philosophy of the tribe, the trident, right? The three. You need physics, you need biology, you need chemistry. Nobody taught me physics, chemistry, biology that way when I was in school. And I just feel that the magic in the mundane is something that you must invest to figure out. And I didn't learn this from school books or anything like that. I learned it by listening to others and making one connection from somewhere and the other. And maybe there was one book that really said it in this way, and then it stayed with me, and then I made other connections. So I think that remembering that there is magic in the mundane is just liberating.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And you have a good
Thank
night,
you.
and I'll see you in Bangalore.
Yes, see you. Bye.